Hey folks, Certified Hoarder here. I was just watching some young YouTube evangelist's short video on stress and chaos in her life, and she just said something that put a thought in my head, a huge one, a huge revelation. She just said one little sentence, and it was a huge revelation for me to where I had to stop and get this recorded. She said, "You are the apple of his eye, the apple of God's eye. When you believe in Christ, every single believer becomes the individual apple of his eye because he's in all places at all times. So he's not spread too thin. You know, a mother with 5 kids, there's going to be a child in there that acts out to get attention because mom is spread too thin. But God is not spread too thin, ever." Now, this is praise for my ex-wife. This is a praise, this is an uplifting for my ex-wife. See, my mother, my problems, my mommy issues, they all stem, and this is therapy for me. This is why my channel has become just constant with this theme, because I am in a season of isolation to heal a lifetime of buried trauma. And it all starts with my mother, who was, bad things happened to her. Both of my parents had bad things in their childhood. I'm not blaming them. I love them both. We are at peace. I forgive them both, and we are at peace. They did the best they could, but bad was done to them, and they built their lives. And, you know, they were incomplete when they tried to raise children. How can an incomplete person raise a complete one? So I have my traumas and wounds to deal with, and my spouse has hers, because very bad things happened to her. Now, when my mother left, it was basically an abandonment, where she went after another, not an abandonment, it was worse. She didn't leave and stay gone. She left and she chose another man's kids, and that man still hates us 40 years later. I can't take my kids to go see their grandmother because my stepfather will call the police because he thinks I'll hurt him because of what he did to my mother for all of my teenage years. He has actually blocked me from visiting. 2020, he said, "Don't come here. I'll call the state police." So I'm not going to cause conflict for my mother, because if I go against him, he just makes life worse for her. And love is when you do what's best for the other person, even at your own expense. So I backed away. I really want to have a relationship with my mom, and I want my kids to have a relationship with their grandma. But if it's going to cause her harm through her terrible husband, I'm not going to do it to her. I'm going to suffer instead. We will all suffer so that she does not. That's what love is. Now, I did not feel like the apple of mom's eye. I did as a little kid, until their marriage started to really unravel. And then it was just chaos and fighting, and I was just in front of a television. Me and my brother were in front of a television while they were screaming in a bedroom. She was screaming in a bedroom. He was quiet. He was always trying to defuse. That's my memory. I only saw, just her side and his side and the truth, right? So I only saw a little bit, but I know the house was full of yelling and slamming doors and all that stuff. And then when she left, my identity disappeared. And what I knew was I was not the apple of mom's eye, because she told me so. She looked me in the face. I said, "Mommy, why'd you leave?" She said, "I left because of you." And that eliminated my sense of security, that I'm okay, that I'm loved. There was no more unconditional love in my life apart from my grandmother. My father, I know now, unconditionally loves us, but he's not an expressive person, because he wasn't really treated that well in his childhood. The uplifting part for my children's mother is that my kids know that they're the apple of her eye. I mean, they know it. She pours out love and affection on them like there's an endless supply. She will not give it to me. And that's the thing I couldn't endure any longer, was that I'm jealous of my own children. I want what they have. I wanted to be loved like that. I see in my spouse what I saw in my mother. My mother and my father's relationship dynamic matches my spouse and I's relationship dynamic. But my spouse does not match my mother. She's the opposite of my mother in the mother-son dynamic. Mother-daughter, like mother-to-child dynamic. She's actually 2 in 1. She's actually the two most important women that were in my life. My mother and my grandmother. My grandmother was the secure attachment, unconditional love. No matter what you did, she could not stop loving you. That is how my spouse is with the kids. My mother was the flighty, insecure XYZ with my father that was avoidant and always running away. And that's who she is with me. So I am so thankful that this marriage is really only destructive to me. Like that my spouse is really only destructive to me and not my kids. Because I'm old enough to understand these things. I'm getting a stomach ache right now. Like my stomach is turning right now because this gives me anxiety. Being vulnerable to her, to have her hurt me over and over, is like the only thing that gives me anxiety. I'm a warrior. I don't have fears. I don't have many fears at all. But being with her just destabilizes me. And she's the only one there's only been a handful of women that do that. I don't behave the way that I do in most relationships with her, as I do with her. But I'm so thankful that she's so full of love and she pours it out so thoroughly on our kids that no matter what they do, they know that she can't stop loving them. They walk all over her. And I'm the strict one to modulate that. You know, I'll be yelling at them, don't disrespect your mom. She asks you, go do it. I'm the one that's always yelling, which she hates. But they know they can count on mom, and they always will be able to. And I can't tell you how priceless that is to the development of that child into a stable person who feels like I'm the apple of somebody's eye. Because being the apple of mom and dad's eye, that is an identity. That's an internal identity that gives a person internal peace and security. Apart from that, they don't have it. They have chaos. They have instability. They have tremendous fear. My childhood was filled with fear. And I had to develop self-protections because no one was protecting me from it. The people that were supposed to be tasked with protecting me were tasking each other with destruction. So there we were, kind of fending for ourselves. And a child just goes with the flow and figures it out on the fly and comes up with all these mechanisms that evolve based on how many times you have to use them. The more times you have to use a certain mechanism, the more crafty you get at perfecting it. It's like a con man. A brand new con man is not that good, but a guy that's been a con man for 50 years, he's pretty good. You know how long Satan's been a con man for? All of them. So think that through when you're listening to that forked-tongued, sweet-talking, smooth voice that's promising you the world, okay? Love you people. I hope this helps somebody. Praise the Lord. God bless you. Amen.